I am going to ask you a really difficult question, and I need you to be 100% honest with yourself in this moment. Is your marketing being put on the back burner consistently? Now, trust me, I get it. You're probably an owner. You might be wearing multiple hats, and I know how you can get stretched super thin and be pulled in a million different directions. And on a day-to-day basis, you are likely having to address the most urgent concerns in your business on the day-to-day. And usually that results in marketing kind of being put on the back burner because it's not an urgent take action right now need in your business. But I will warn you, if that is something that you are doing regularly, then you will find yourself in a position where your marketing is struggling over and over and over again. You're going to be struggling to acquire the leads that you need. You're not going to be building your brand. You're not going to be becoming 5 Mile famous, and you're not going to be creating that omnipresence in your market while your competitors actively are doing that. So you're going to find yourself getting further and further behind with your marketing each year, also while spending more money. So if any of this sounds familiar to you, it might be time to hire a marketing manager. So that's what we're going to be talking about today in this video, in this podcast, how to hire a marketing manager in your roofing company. Hi, my name is Sydney, and I am the marketing director here at Contractor Dynamics. And today I am accompanied in person with the Elizabeth Lytle. And we have really been through many interviews together, and we've hired many marketing trainers for our companies. We have helped multiple clients hire awesome marketing managers. And so I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, very excited to be here. When I first found out about Contractor Dynamics, I was actually doing marketing, functioning as a marketing manager for a general contractor in my local area. So I have experience sitting in that specific seat. I came onto the Contractor Dynamics team, and since then, we've helped many companies bring their marketing in-house, but specifically recruit, hire, train, and onboard revenue-driving marketing managers, which is what we're here to talk about today. If you implement the things that we talk about in the video today, you will absolutely be able to hire a revenue-driving marketing manager who owns that seat and helps really move the needle for your business. So here are a few of the things that we're going to go over today. We're going to talk about how to know when you're really ready to hire a marketing manager. We're going to talk about some resume qualifications, some characteristic traits that we've seen over the years in the most revenue-driving, highly qualified, best possible marketing managers. And then we're going to get into some actual specific interview questions that you can ask to ensure that you're finding the right person. So Sydney, let's talk a little bit about how do you actually know when you're ready to hire a marketing manager?
The specific traits that indicate that you are ready to hire a marketing manager could include really any of the following. You don't like marketing, so you keep putting it on the back burner. That's a common one that we see. Another one is maybe you just don't understand marketing, and that's so common. Most clients, when they come to us, they straight up say, I don't know anything about marketing, how do I do this? And that is a perfectly fine place to be. And if you don't really have an interest in learning it, then I think that's a really good indication that we need to hire somebody in some capacity to join the team as a marketing manager. A couple other things to consider are if you're not posting on social media consistently, if you are not holding your agency accountable. And what I mean by that specifically is you show up maybe to your meetings, maybe they're like, once a quarter, every other month, but you don't really know the questions to ask them. And so you just kind of show up and they talk a lot of marketing jargon at you and you're like, okay, I didn't get any of that, whatever. If that's relatable to you, then it's time to possibly bring a marketing manager in-house to effectively hold that marketing agency accountable so that you can come prepared to those meetings with specific questions asked based on the data that you're seeing. Another thing that we see commonly is if you're spending marketing dollars and you don't really know what's going on with them, or you're not tracking, you don't know if you're getting an ROI or you're getting a terrible ROI. If that's an issue that you're having, then we need to have a lot more control over that marketing in order for you to see the growth that you want in your business. And so that's also an indicator that it's time to hire a marketing manager for sure.
That's right. One thing I would add to that, after talking to so many owners who put off hiring a marketing manager, is that if you're realizing that your marketing dollars really aren't working for you, if there's kind of a lot going on without a very clear direction, again, some of that is lack of accountability, it's really time to find somebody who owns that seat, like Sydney said.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit more. We've worked with a lot of roofing contractors, hundreds of them. We've helped them hire marketing managers in their companies. Do you think it's essential that they hire someone full-time, part-time, fractional? What do you think is the best move for a roofing company?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're going to have different scenarios based on your level of growth, your bandwidth, whether or not you really love marketing or not and want to be involved or not, and what your specific goals are. So as long as you have someone functioning as that, GC of your marketing, there's somebody who owns marketing in your business, who has the bandwidth to spend time on it every single week, you're going to be okay. However, that could look like a part-time person doing 10 hours a week. That could look like a hybrid scenario where someone is a full-time employee, but maybe they're doing some business development and marketing, or maybe some admin work and some marketing. It could be that you hire, a part-time social media person, or you could have someone full-time in the business who's doing 40 hours, waking up every day and putting your company in front of more eyes. Sometimes at the very beginning of a company, though, it's going to be you, the owner, doing that for a period of time until you hit those pain points like Sydney talked about, and then it's time to really consider even starting out for part-time and then graduating into something more full-time. So there are many different options that can work there as long as you have that person in that seat.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about the logistics that go into finding the right kind of person. So commonly we hear from roofing contractors when they ask us about hiring a marketing manager, they say, all right, I put up the LinkedIn ad or I put up the Indeed ad and, I have this job posting and I got inundated with these resumes. What do I look for on a resume in order to effectively hire this person? Because we're looking at it from a lens of, we don't know, exactly what qualifications this person should have in order to effectively lead us in our marketing department. So what would you say are some of the common resume indicators that you should be identifying from a great marketing manager during the resume review process?
Yeah, that's a good question. We do get this one a lot, and we'll get into personality traits in a moment, core value alignment, that kind of thing. But when it comes to the actual resume, the first thing that I would have you do is really determine what you're looking for in that person. So obviously we're going to be looking for different skills if this person is going to be out in the field capturing social media content. Whereas if they're going to be in the office doing that behind the scenes work, running ads, that sort of thing, we want them to have a knowledge of Google, right? The difference between the different parts of Google. We want them to have some basic, website SEO knowledge. We want them to be able to open up Google Analytics and not be completely and entirely lost, right? So someone who has some of that background and experience where they've had some of that hands-on behind the scenes work before. They've run some ads, they have some understanding of marketing, and they're able to come on and thankfully know a little bit more than you do and be able to take the company in the direction that you really want. What are some others that you would add to that, Sydney?
I would say social media and posting content and creating content is also going to be one that you're going to want to look for. When you're hiring your first marketing manager, it's going to be essential that someone has a wide variety of skill sets in both analyzing and optimizing data,
That's right.
but also being creative. And so I actually just spoke with someone yesterday who hired a marketing manager, and during the interview process, they said, all right, we feel really good about where we're at right now, but we actually want to see if you have the ability to create the type of content that we're wanting. And so they gave them their stockpile of videos and images, and they said, can you please create a content plan for 5 days of content for our business using these assets? We'll give you 24 hours to see what you can come up with. We know there's a lot you don't know about our company, and that's okay. We're not going to judge you on that, but we want to see your creativity come out.
I love that. That's very cool.
So being able to pair the data analyzation with the creativity piece by posting on social media, creating those videos. They don't have to be perfect by any means, but being able to use those assets in a way that's going to make your business look good and help you build that brand, become 5 Mile famous will be something that's really important.
That's right. One thing I do want to share on that point that I've seen people do a few times is, hey, this person is creative and I really need a marketing person. Come on in and you run the marketing for us. But the reality is that sometimes when you take someone with no other qualifications who just happens to be creative, they like decorating, or they've used a Canva graphic or a template before, it doesn't mean that's necessarily the right fit to sit behind a computer and set up ads and be overseeing that kind of data. So it is important to go through that whole scope of questioning. That way you're finding the right person. And depending on your strengths and who you have on your current team, there are going to be different needs that you're going to have. So get really clear on that before you start that process.
Very cool. So you kind of mentioned just a couple minutes ago that we were going to get into the personality character traits that we should be looking for in a marketing manager. If you had to pick one thing that is the most important, I mean, top priority, sure, what would that character and personality trait be in a marketing manager that will make them the most successful?
Yeah, this is an easy one. It's the same thing I'm going to say every single time. If you want a marketing manager who will drive revenue, you have to find someone who's driven. You have to find someone who takes initiative, not someone who sits back and says, well, the ads don't seem to be working, and doesn't take action quickly. We need somebody who's going to take that initiative and move quickly. We commonly hear from owners, I really wish my marketing manager would move a little faster, would be a little bit more driven, would think outside the box a little bit. So we need somebody who has that critical thinking and is going to take action on that. That's extremely important.
That's so important. Yes, we have clients all the time. I would say of any of the complaints we get from owners about marketing managers, I would say that is the skill set that we tend to see lacking most, especially if it's their first time hiring a marketing manager and they feel like maybe they didn't hire the right person. It's usually because they're lacking that specific trait. So I think that is incredibly valuable advice. Like if you take anything from this video at all, that will save you tens of thousands of dollars just by finding the right person with that specific trait. So I love that. What are some other qualities, characteristics that you would look for in an ideal marketing manager?
Sure. I also want to find someone who's going to be teachable and coachable, somebody who is willing to receive feedback, someone who's willing to get some training, get some learning, because the reality is that marketing is not something where you create a single SOP and fulfill that and follow that every single time. Marketing is consistently evolving. Marketing 4 years ago is completely different from marketing today, right? Which means that this needs to be a person who's adaptable. They're willing to sit down with the owner and learn some new things. They're willing to go through some training. They're willing to take some data, extract some action steps from that, and adjust their strategy, right? So someone who's coachable is extremely important. I will say that in terms of marketing managers who we've seen really be successful, really take the vision and be able to run with that and create some revenue, oftentimes it's not people with 40 years of experience in a different industry who's stuck in their ways, because they tend to be a little less flexible and coachable because they know everything, right? Whereas when we have people who are, again, just really coachable and willing to go through some training, those people tend to be more successful because they're really aligned with the owner, they're taking that vision, they're running with it, they're collaborating with the team, and they're open to learning new things. So they're going to be a lot more successful in that role.
Absolutely. Even if you do have like 40 years of experience, if you're not coachable and willing to learn, marketing changes on almost a daily basis now, it seems like, especially in the digital aspect of marketing, like print materials and things like that, right, are pretty consistent for the most part, but within the digital aspect of things, they change all the time. So really, if you want to be a successful marketer in any capacity, you have to be coachable and you have to be constantly improving and constantly learning. So yeah, that's incredible. What else would you say is important in a company specifically? Like for each company, what should they be looking for to hire a marketing manager that's going to stick at their company specifically?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I would say this applies to every position for which you're going to ever recruit. If you find someone with all the experience in the world and all the knowledge in the world, but they're not aligned with your culture and your company core values, the reality is that they're going to be a cancer to your organization, and they're probably going to do more harm than good. So I would highly recommend that, number one, if you don't have core values and you don't really know what you want your culture to look like, that's okay, but sit down and figure out what that is right now, right away. If you're at this point in the video and you don't have that, why don't you pause the video, go to that, and then come on back. But if you have those core values, I would recommend using those as a filter while you're looking for those people and starting there. It doesn't really matter the skills and experience if they're not core value aligned. So start there, dig into your core values, and ensure that they're going to fit well with your company so that they can have that longevity.
I love it. I love it. This video is gold. This will be so impactful for your business. So let's get into the specific interview questions that you should be asking. So we just talked about the resume qualifications, the hands-on skill set they should have, how to identify if they're core value aligned or at least checking. How do you better understand that from an interview perspective? Like, what questions should we be asking specifically in a marketing manager interview?
Sure. Well, I'd love to kind of outline the way that we do it at Contractor Dynamics. I am very, very proud of our team, and I've seen this system work well for our clients as well. So I'd love to kind of outline that, if that's all right.
Go for it. Yeah, I would love it.
So this is what we're doing, and I believe that this does two things. Number one, it helps us save time. Number two, it helps us identify the people who are really going to gel well with our culture and be a really good core value fit. So the first thing that we're doing, obviously, we're putting our job listing out there, but we have a target where we utilize something called predictive index, which is a scientifically proven assessment tool specifically for recruiting. And so we collaborate as a team and discuss what we really want to get out of this person, who we want them to be, what the expectations are, what their characteristics need to be. So we all get clear on that as a team so that we're on the same page. We have everyone who applies for the position go through that process of taking the assessment. That way we don't interview every single person that actually applies. We're interviewing the people who have gone through the assessment and really align with what we're looking for, which is great on both ends because it saves us time. We don't have to interview 140 people, and it's going to save the time of the people who are not a right fit because they need to be freed up to go do what's best for them. So we go through that process. We first interview specifically on our core values, where we're asking for specific situations where they talk about how those are shown in their life, in their work, to ensure that we really, really are core value aligned. So we're asking those kind of questions. And then we're moving on to a scenario where we're digging into skills and experience. But in that first core value interview, we really want to get to know who they are as a person, what they're looking for in their career, and what motivates them.
So give me an example of a situational core value interview question, like based on our core values in our company, of course, because we don't know your core values. You can tailor these to your company specifically. But can you give me an example of how you would get a situational core value question answered?
Absolutely. So I'll give you an example. I ask this question all the time. One of our core values is we are dedicated to continual learning and improvement, which means we don't have egos, right? We accept feedback. We are willing to adapt our skills in order to meet a certain goal or overcome a challenge. So I like to ask people about a time when maybe they've been faced with a challenge or they've received some constructive feedback. Maybe they made a mistake and they had to adapt to overcome. That's a very specific question, and I'm looking for an actual scenario. I'm not looking for you to say, yes, I think that's important to adapt and improve. I'm looking for you to admit that you've made a mistake before and what you did to overcome that and then improve so that I can see that whole process, right? So you want to hear about very clear scenarios, and it's pretty easy in that interview as you ask those questions. If somebody's BSing, right, you can tell that pretty quickly. So it's really, really a good way to identify whether or not this person is going to really have longevity in your organization.
I love that. One of the other things that we do at our organization is we have core value panel interviews. So can you talk a little bit more about why we do panel interviews? That doesn't mean that you have to do this, but we just want to share some insight about how it has been helpful for us. So share a little bit about that process and how it helps us choose the right candidates.
There's a few reasons that we do that, but when we do that, one of the things that we find is that people function a little bit differently in a group. Sometimes you see people's competition come out a little bit. Sometimes you see people very gracefully address other people in the room. You're able to pretty quickly see the dynamic that people are going to naturally divert to in those kinds of scenarios. And we really we're not in that interview and pitting everybody against each other and asking everybody to share their qualifications and how much money they've made in the past. It's a conversation to get to know people. And that kind of a format is really telling on people's personalities and the way that they're going to treat other people. And it's been pretty clarifying for us to easily be able to say, everyone is great here. It's been great to get to know most of the time. It's been great to get to know everyone here, but it gives us a really clear picture of the people with whom we know we really want to move forward. And that group setting is a good filter for that.
Yes, I love that group setting. Those panel interviews have been fantastic for us. So let's talk about the next set of interviews where we're getting deeper into the specific qualifications. So to be clear, we don't recommend doing a qualifications interview as a panel interview. It's going to really create that sense of competition that becomes sort of unhealthy, and we don't want people to feel the need to like puff up their chest next to their candidate they're competing against. But if we're having a conversation one-on-one, like this is the second interview, we're having a one-on-one conversation, that can be a really good time to have a qualifications interview. So what kind of questions would you suggest asking in a qualifications interview specifically for a marketing manager at a roofing company?
So again, depending on what I'm looking for, I am going to want to ask them about their years of experience in marketing roles, what different fields they have worked in terms of, have they been marketing for real estate? Have they been marketing in the restaurant business? Have they worked in the roofing or contracting industry before? I'm going to want to ask them about specific systems and specific platforms to understand if they have recent experience with certain things like meta ads or Google or website SEO. Have they opened Google Analytics in the past? For example, with us, we really want our marketing trainers on our team, which have really similar qualifications to actual marketing managers. We want to know that they've actually been in Meta Ads Manager recently, because these platforms change, right? If they say that they did marketing, 15 years ago, well, that looks really different today. So I want to get some relevant experience from recent history to know that they have some qualifications that are going to be applicable right now. I know that you've done interviews like this before. I'd love to hear what other questions you would ask.
Yeah, I think you really covered most of the bases. The only thing I would just add is try to avoid yes or no questions. So instead of asking, have you run Facebook ads before? And they say, yes. I would ask about the specific Facebook ads that they have ran before. And usually when you ask open-ended questions, you're going to kind of get a feel, like if they get squirmy, it's probably because A, they're about to lie to you, or B, they haven't done the thing and they're nervous to admit that. We actually will ask some questions intentionally for the sake of getting someone to say, no, I haven't done that before, but I'm open to learning.
That's
so
right.
Having open-ended questions to really be able to identify if they have experience in that specific platform with those different types of advertising is also really important, because it's going to give you a lot of insight into the depth of their experience. So specifically, like with Facebook ads, I would say, what types of Facebook campaigns have you ran in the past? What results did you see from those specific campaigns? Tell me about challenges that you overcame specifically with Facebook ads. Or with Google ads, you could ask the same types of questions. What types of campaigns have you ran? What keywords did you use if you're talking about a pay-per-click Google campaign? We have a whole list of questions that we could give to y'all to kind of get those open-ended answers, just to see how honest the candidates are going to be about their experience. But that's another thing I would just consider, is asking those deeper, open-ended questions to make sure you're getting the real, tangible feedback from that candidate.
That's right. Those are great questions. One thing I think we didn't mention that I would love to mention about that is that if you're listening to this and you're an owner and you have other members on your team, it's often really helpful to have that whole recruiting process be a collaborative process. So, for example, I am doing a good bit of the HR for Contractor Dynamics right now. However, I never go through the recruiting process by myself, because ideally we want multiple team members to weigh in on this scenario, right? So for example, I might lead that core value panel interview, but then I collaborate with Sydney, and Sydney's gonna ask them some questions about their specific qualifications, or that specific department head is gonna lead that other interview. So ideally, we want that person to have multiple touches with other people in the business. Now, if you're an owner and you're the only person in the business, that's okay, obviously. But if you'd like some feedback from other people, for example, we are a great resource for that sort of thing, because it's helpful to lean on other people. That way you get some other perspectives when you're really looking for a really important person in your company.
Yeah, having a good set of people that surround you to really judge character ultimately, and if they're going to be a good fit for your company is such a good circle to have in place. And even if you are an owner operator, and you're running the company by yourself at this point, like lean on your peers, your inner circle, your mentors to get feedback. Ask if they can review clips from the interview. Most people are super open and willing to help with that. I know we are, so we love doing this kind of stuff. So awesome.
We've walked you through when to know that you're ready to hire a marketing manager. We've walked you through who to look for. We've walked you through questions to ask and what that interview process can look like. So let us know if this was helpful to you. Let us know if you have any questions. We'd love to answer for those. Like the video below, comment below. Let us know if you need any other feedback. Follow our channel. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, this is completely overwhelming, I get the concept, but actually executing on this is going to be really challenging by myself. You do not have to do this alone. We do this every single week with our clients and with our prospects inside the roofing industry. So if you're looking for some support with that, that's something that we specifically do. We help companies recruit, hire, onboard, and train marketing managers every single week. So if that's something that you want support with, reach out to us, comment below, email us, go to our website, contractordynamics.com. We're here to help, but make sure you take action so you can find a revenue-driving marketing manager for your business. We're about halfway through our series of discussing how to bring your marketing in-house. We've been discussing how to hire that marketing manager. If you're ready for that next step, but now you need to determine what to pay that person and what that compensation plan needs to look like, tune in with us next week. We're going to go through exactly what that needs to look like and give you the winning formula for finding your revenue-driving marketing manager and paying them accordingly.